This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Unions warn they will intensify their strike across South Africa's aviation sector. The UNHCR says it's facing a funding shortfall in Ethiopia. And on World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, we look at efforts to reduce road accidents in Africa. Hello and a very warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour. Authorities in the DRC optimistic the Ebola epidemic could end by December. And in sports, Kenya's William Baka looks ahead at the 7th series after coming back from injury. In our top story, unions leading a strike at South African Airways have vowed to intensify their demonstrations. NUMSA, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, held consultations with members of other aviation-related companies in a bid to start a secondary strike. Now, these include Airports Company South Africa and supplier businesses like Bidvest. Angela Coppola has more.
Of immediate concern is the maintenance and repair of the SAA fleet. This just weeks after 3 local airlines voluntarily grounded their fleets due to administration issues at SAA Technical.
We're warning passengers not to fly SAA while the strike is continuing. If they do so, they're literally putting their lives at risk. Those who are responsible for the safety of the plane, this includes safety officers in the form of cabin crew, as well as technicians who are our members at SAAT as well as at SALCA, are on strike.
Strikers include most, if not all, the senior qualified and experienced personnel at SAA Technical.
I'm a technician. If I do not sign off the aircraft with the proper qualifications, that aircraft must not fly. Yes. Where is SAA getting the authorities to release aircraft when we are here?
Which, according to NUMSA, begs the question about what the Civil Aviation Authority of South Africa is doing about aircraft maintenance sign-offs.
SAA right now is depending on learners who have had very little flight experience. They cannot operate unsupervised. They're depending on them to do the work, the critical work of either safety officers or of repairing and maintaining the flights. This is absolutely unacceptable.
It's day 3 of the strike, and the unions are adamant, more so than they were the last 2 days, that they're going to take this strike and make it a national aviation strike, which could see the country plunged into chaos. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN at OR Tambo International Airport in South Africa.
Elsewhere in South Africa, the Democratic Alliance Party has appointed a new interim leader, John Steenhuisen. This follows the sudden resignation of Mmusi Maimane. Mmusi's resignation caused widespread uncertainty in the party. He was appointed in 2015, and it was expected that his appointment would improve the traditionally white Liberal Party's appeal to black voters. The party now has to prepare for the 2021 municipal elections, with some analysts saying black voters might follow Maimane's lead and exit the party. And turning to the DRC now, where at least 15 people have been killed by suspected Islamist militants. The attack happened in the eastern part of the country. This comes after the country's army launched a campaign last month to root out fighters from the Allied Democratic Forces. The ADF launched retaliatory attacks against the military last week, killing at least 40 civilians. CGTN's Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
The night attack was carried out in the village of Mbao near Beni in eastern DRC. Local officials say the assailants killed civilians with bladed weapons. 6 members of one family are reported to have been hacked to death. Authorities have blamed the attack on the Allied Democratic Forces, a Ugandan Islamist militia operating in eastern DRC. Local residents accuse the army of taking long to respond to the attack.
Despite the operation, there are no protection or security measures that would stop the population being taken. There are no measures to secure the main transport routes. This is why we believe it is important that in the military operation, it's necessary for units to be set up in big towns so that they can intervene when necessary.
I have never seen anything like this. Usually, a military intervention is not something where jeeps come to where the things are happening and nothing is done. Is this what an intervention is supposed to be?
The army has not yet responded to the allegation. The attack is the latest in a series of massacres that the rebels have carried out since the Congolese army launched an offensive in October. Last week, the Congolese army said it killed 25 members of the rebel group in a major offensive in the east. Eastern DRC has many armed groups that have been killing civilians and attacking healthcare workers trying to contain the Ebola outbreak. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
The United Nations High Commission for Refugees says it's facing a critical funding shortfall to meet the needs of refugees in Ethiopia. According to the agency, it has received about $204 million of the $347 million required to meet the basic nutritional needs as well as the education, health and accommodation needs of refugees in Ethiopia. As of October, the UNHCR registered over 700,000 asylum seekers in that country. About 70 million people are displaced worldwide, with Turkey hosting the highest number of refugees, Uganda hosting the largest number of refugees in Africa, with Ethiopia coming a close second. Well, staying with the question of refugees, in Egypt, a charity organization is providing free food in the country on a daily basis to refugees. The organization also organizes a gathering every week where asylum seekers meet, have lunch and enjoy the day together. Our correspondent Yasser Hakim has more.
According to Egyptian authorities, there are about 5 million refugees in Egypt. 315,000 of them are registered with the UNHCR. Rizq Farouk owns a charity organization that provides food for the refugees.
We in Tegea provide a place for refugees to eat every day for free. We're in several cities, not just Cairo. Most who come to us are widows or divorcees with their children or men who don't have enough income. These segments are our main target.
Egypt refuses to establish refugee camps. It allows refugees to live amongst Egyptians, to work and even own small projects if they can. Many have had success. Others, not so fortunate, rely on initiatives such as this one for aid.
I have been in Egypt for 10 years and have settled down. I'm treated very well by Egyptians. I make henna, makeup for the skin and hair for women in weddings. I've been coming here for years. They treat us very well and help in anything we ask, not just food. They give us important support.
Rizq Farouk is a businessman. A portion of his income is spent on charity work, but he also accepts donations to help him expand.
My dream is to be everywhere for the refugees. I am slowly making it a reality. We started 5 years ago with once a week in one place. Now we are every day in several locations. We serve from 500 to 1,000 people in each location per day. My target is to provide food every day in every city in Egypt, all over the country.
The refugees don't just come here to eat. They meet and socialize with others. And the organization also provides job opportunities when needed.
I was offered a job here at the organization. I help in reaching out to the refugees to see what they need to help solve any problems they face. I also help in distributing food to the ones who are unable to come for health reasons.
Most of the registered refugees in Egypt are from Africa, especially Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, and other African countries. But there's a large Syrian presence as well, around 500,000.
I've heard about this service from Syrian friends. When I came, I was impressed with what they were offering, the quality and kindness they provide. I hope they reach more people.
Rizq Farouk says his future plan is to set up branches outside Egypt. He wants to serve refugees throughout the continent. Yas Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Well, time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. Authorities in the DRC are optimistic the Ebola epidemic could end by December. And Nigeria's central bank releases $1.7 billion as a loan facility for farmers in the country.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
The 17th of November is the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. The day honors the millions killed and injured on the roads globally. The day also highlights the tremendous burden and cost road accidents bear on families, communities and countries. Road traffic accidents kill an estimated 1.25 million people each year, 90% of them in middle and low-income countries. Such accidents are the leading cause of death among young people aged between 15 and 29. Almost half of all road traffic deaths are among pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists. Let's go to Uganda now, where the country loses approximately 10 people every day in road traffic accidents. It is the highest road fatality rate in East Africa. To tackle the problem, authorities are intensifying efforts to ensure more drivers abide by the rules of the road. Leon Senyange reports.
It has been 3 weeks of learning. For Genevieve Apio, the driving lessons at this school have been an exciting experience.
It's not difficult. It's only about putting much effort in getting what the instructors are telling you.
Apio cannot wait to get onto the road on her own. After passing her test, she will have to apply for a complete driving permit. It takes about 3 weeks to process a new driving permit, but several drivers have put a car on the road and driven without any lessons or even a permit, and that is a big concern. Unregistered driving schools operate in the city, offering lessons and sometimes access to permits. It is these schools that are being faulted for several of the driver errors.
Yes, those are the major people causing the shortcuts. Those ones, if they can be eliminated, then at least step by step, the faking is going to be done.
Last year, police confiscated over 300 forged driving permits. Tougher road operations have now been put in place to arrest more unlicensed drivers.
People have no driving permits. People are driving with expired permits. People are driving out of class, and we have those people who are driving without, they have never acquired any permit. They are driving.
According to the Uganda Police traffic reports, over 3,600 people lost their lives in road traffic accidents last year. Ensuring that all drivers are trained and can legally use the road, they say, will help reduce the number of cases. Leon Senyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's chief Ebola coordinator says he believes the deadly outbreak will be brought to an end by December this year. Professor Jean-Jacques Muyembe is optimistic that the disease will be contained given the recent reduction in new cases and the introduction of a second Ebola vaccine in the eastern city of Goma. CGTN's Chris Ochamringa has more.
A new Ebola vaccine is administered to residents in the DRC's eastern city of Goma. It's an experimental vaccine manufactured by US firm Johnson & Johnson. The vaccine is being given to adults and children who are 1 year and older living outside the areas with Ebola.
I came here voluntarily to get the new Ebola vaccine. I feel very good that I've got it. It has no problem at all.
Health workers are targeting 50,000 people in this busy trading hub that shares a border with Rwanda. Ebola has claimed close to 2,200 lives in North Kivu and Ituri provinces since its onset last August. But there's been a significant drop in new cases over the past 2 months. That has given DRC authorities reason to believe they're winning the fight against Ebola.
I think at the end of this month of November, we will be the outbreak will be totally under control. So we have to wait until the end of December to declare the end of the outbreak.
Some Congolese health officials have criticized the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, arguing that it hasn't been adequately tested. But the head of the DRC's Ebola response team dismisses their claims.
This is not a candidate vaccine that we can use without taking into account the recommendation of SAGE group. So I confirm that it is a good vaccine, and this vaccine is in use in other countries. So I find no problem to use it in DRC.
Johnson & Johnson says it proved the vaccine's efficacy after conducting clinical trials on more than 6,500 volunteers across the US, Europe, and Africa. The new Ebola vaccine will be used alongside the one manufactured by US drug maker Merck to prevent the spread of the disease in the DRC. Health experts believe the two vaccines will have a greater impact in containing the deadly disease that has been confined to remote areas in the east of the country. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Nigeria's central bank has released a 10-year loan facility for farmers totaling $1.7 billion. The loan is promoted under the Commercial Agriculture Credit Scheme established in 2009. The government's focus on agriculture is aimed at addressing Nigeria's economic diversification agenda. But how impactful has the credit scheme been for Nigerian farmers? CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam has more.
Chukwudi runs a farm here in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. He's got a piggery, fishery and seedling farm. Although a new venture at just 2 years, he's been looking to scale up his business. It's a passionate plan to help boost the nation's food security. But funding has been a major constraint, and it's been difficult accessing government loans.
I applied, I have my loan officer come here, do assessment, supervise the farm, told me it's pretty viable and all that for the fishery segment. That's what I applied for. But you could, imagine that between March, when I applied, 2017 till date, it's still being processed. You understand? So, and I have friends in BOA that will tell you, that's Bank of Agri, that will tell you that, hey, the funds have been, that they hear, they tell me that they hear that funds have been disbursed actually to the banks, but they don't get to see it.
Government has been looking to diversify its monolithic economy, shifting focus from crude oil to agriculture. Since 2009, it has released nearly $1.7 billion as loan to farmers. Aside the bottlenecks in accessing loans, farmers say flood, insecurity, weak infrastructure are among some of the challenges they face in the sector. And experts here say much more is required to further boost the sector.
The agricultural need of this country is far, far above this amount of money. And so this is only like a scratch to what we need to do in agriculture. Agriculture is a very capital-intensive sector and requires a whole lot of money to be able to get it to where we need to be.
But that's not all. There's need for proper supervision of loan disbursements.
My concern and the concerns of other Nigerians is the fact that you'll be shocked to know that a greater proportion and percentage of this amount of money mentioned may not have gone to the real farmers themselves. They may have been diverted to other users for some other purposes.
Under the scheme, the central bank confirms that over 9,500 farmers would benefit from $3.4 million loan in the third quarter of this year. 49% will go to food crops, 18.9% to mixed crops, and the rest to livestock, fisheries, and others. Farmers like Chukudi are hopeful that this time round they would have access to the loans to help boost production. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
You're watching Africa Live, your sports news up next. Coming up, Kenya's Willie Ambaka looks ahead at the 7th series after coming back from injury.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
We start with African football. Kenya's national football team have held their last training session ahead of their AFCON 2021 qualifying match against Togo on Monday. The team jetted back into the country from Egypt on Saturday, where they held their hosts to a 1-1 draw in the first round of qualifications. The Harambee Stars might, however, lack the services of goalkeeper Patrick Matasi and forward Ayub Timbe, who have been ruled out through injury. Kenya last hosted Togo in 2012, where they defeated them 2-1 under the current head coach, Francis Kimanzi. Kimanzi says the team is having a great run so far and is hopeful of good results.
The camp is great. We've had our training, which is very important, ahead of Monday's match. The morale is good in the camp. There are not so many injuries except the ones we got in Egypt. And the injured players look like they might not make it for Monday's match.
Yes, we are expecting a very tough game because they lost their first match and are looking for points. And even for us, we are at home and we need those 3 points. So it will be a tough match and I think we will struggle.
Now, in our quest to bring you the best talent from the continent, we pitch tent in South Africa next, where a teenage tennis sensation is making waves on the international junior circuit. Kolo Montsi, who is only 16, has been playing tennis since he was just 7 years old. The young man with big dreams hopes to make it onto the ATP circuit. CGTN's Julie Shai met with the future star in Johannesburg.
16-year-old Kolo Montsi was a natural from the first moment he picked up a tennis racket. He gave it a shot after watching his brother Sipho in action, who's already a local champion and has had a taste of Grand Slam tennis.
I started tennis at the age of 7. I just followed my brother. You know, he was playing for South Africa and for Border in East London. I had a bit of an advantage because I had played squash, so I was able to read the game a bit better, to move better.
Drawing inspiration from world number 2 Rafael Nadal, Montsi serves up a tough game. He's exciting to watch as he drives the ball from the baseline.
Rafa was always my favorite because I just saw the way how he never gives up, and it's something what I just did now. I was 4-2 down in the third set, but I never gave up. You know, I think having Rafa as a big role model really helps me.
The young star has hopes set on the ATP Tour. In August, he made it into the top 100 of the junior ITF rankings. He's since raced up the ranks to number 22.
I always thought I could do this, but I never actually believed I could do it. So now, you know, I believe in myself way more than I actually thought I did, and I know that I can do really big things in the future.
Kolo and his brother have become an inspiration to aspiring tennis players around the country.
The bigger the name got of the Montsi brothers, you know, the more we were told and the more we started to realize we're not playing just for ourselves, you know, we're playing for other black people in South Africa. I do want to see black tennis really grow in South Africa.
South Africa's presence on the international scene has been lacking, but